Welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with Spencer and Larry, and we're going to be discussing City on a Hill Season 2, Episode number 5. If you've not hit the sub button or the bell, please do so. We do these reviews every single week. Lots of content on the channel. Hit the upvote, leave a comment. That helps push the video. And we're going to start with DeCourcy and Jackie are sort of a team now. Like, the events of this episode lead them to sort of working together. Now, I'm trying to figure out if Jackie has an angle, and we'll go into that. But basically, Anton Campbell gets let out on bail, and this motherfucker makes the decision that he's going to go kill DeCourcy. That shocked me. I did not see that coming at all.
Yeah.
Of course, misses. He shoots DeCourcy's wife, Siobhan. She's alive. The baby seems okay, so all that's good. But then Jackie comes in straight up like, look, I'll kill him for you, which that line of dialogue, that was beautiful. I love the whole conversation. The look on DeCourcy's face, just like, no. And then finally the angle of him, because they want to force Jackie out, but he basically like, give me one last case. I'll take down Anton. And then DeCourcy's like, well, we're going to do it by the book. That whole dynamic of them becoming this team and they're going after Anton Campbell. What'd you guys think? Were you as shocked as I was? Like I said, I did not see that shit coming at all.
I didn't see it coming at all, but in the first season, there was moments where, although they didn't trust each other, they worked very well together. So seeing this and seeing the evolution of the characters throughout this season, it's been such a journey we talked about parallels in every one of the reviews that we've done so far. Like we saw the relationships, and then they would show Jackie and Jenny's, and then they would show DeCourcy and Siobhan's relationship. So they kept going back and forth trying to show the parallels between the two. So to show that, now they're going to work together for a common goal. I didn't see it coming, but it doesn't surprise me either. I enjoy it, and I'm really curious as to how it's going to work out, or if, like you said, Jackie has an ulterior motive or not.
It's literally good cop, bad cop, which is a cool thing.
Well, yeah, and I don't think at this moment, like here and now at this moment, I don't think he has an ulterior motive, but I think he'll find one. I think he'll see his chance sometime, like during the investigation, to sort of keep his position and everything and stay where he is, or maybe advance a little even. And I think, Jackie being Jackie, he's still going to take advantage of that. Because I think he was being very honest towards the end of this episode when he says that, he's angry about this. He likes Siobhan. He seemed to, like, in last season especially, he seems like he actually likes Siobhan just as a person, and that he hates that this happened. And he does seem to feel that he's wrong DeCourcy. And we've seen a lot of this through this episode where, he's trying to force that kid to testify against him earlier, and then he changes his mind last minute, partially because of what his mother's done to him, but also because, of guilt, the guilt he feels because of what he's done to DeCourcy. So I feel like to some degree this is the most earnest Jackie's ever been, but I feel like, Jackie being who he is, he's going to find an angle to exploit in this.
Well, yeah, because it's odd. You're right. He seems genuine in wanting to help, but then there is the whole idea of him. Is he really looking at this as his last ride? Because Karen is still trying to push him out, and they figured out a way to put him in, like, I guess, a shitty area where he basically would just sit at a desk and do nothing. And he agrees to do that if they let him do this case. He's like, let me get this last case in, and then I'll bow out. I'll be gone. But like you said, Larry, he may be legitimately believing that right now, but as things progress, his mind may change. That seems to be the character.
I think that he's going to take advantage of the situation, because he went and saw DeCourcy before he ever went and saw his boss, if I'm not mistaken, the first time.
Yes, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think he genuinely is trying to be a better person. I think that he genuinely, although he likes fucking with DeCourcy, I think that he likes DeCourcy and he loves Siobhan. Like, I think that he has a great deal of respect for her. So I think he legitimately wants to help. However, I think that now he sees an opportunity doing what he wants to do can also help him. So I think that in his heart, he really is trying to help, but I think he's also going to try and take advantage of the situation to also help himself.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the sort of thing where some sort of alliance with DeCourcy, may play in his favor to some degree. And it's also an enemy of my enemy situation for one. He makes nice with DeCourcy and the DA's office, and he may find leverage against his boss in that way. So he doesn't want. I mean, because right now, if you look at Jackie's situation with DeCourcy angry at him, with his boss wanting to get rid of him, and with them no longer being at each other's throats, um, you know, Jackie's kind of cornered in a way. So, it's probably him being legitimately, remorseful, which it does seem like in this part of the series it's him doing it. But also, yeah, he may find that angle, and this may be him finding an angle, as well. And he may be looking at his boss and looking at DeCourcy and, just kind of thinking to himself, well, better the devil I know. I know DeCourcy. I can play this a certain way. She just wants to get rid of me. It's like I've got nothing on her. It's like I can come out of this being a hero cop again, having a big win, and then it's really hard to get rid of me.
Did you guys watch the preview for next week?
I did. It was super.
Okay.
Yeah.
I because we're gonna talk about it a little bit, so just so the audience knows, because it's very significant to Grace Campbell's story arc. So she basically is trying. She's trying to help her son. She's trying to get this bail money. She goes to every legitimate avenue she can. She sort of, I guess, steals the money from the organization she's with, or the apartment complex. I wasn't completely sure where she got the money, but she took it. It wasn't hers. And people are starting to turn against her. Like, legitimately, people that even, work with her in the community are just like, yeah, your sons are, shit's getting out of control. And the fact that you don't see it is a little ridiculous. Like, she has those actual conversations. I wanted to bring up the preview because in the preview, it appears as if she wants to be an alibi for Anton. He was with me. He couldn't have shot at DeCourcy and his wife. So that's what I got from the preview. If you disagree, go ahead. But what do you think about this story of Grace? We were wondering if she was going to start to, in order to protect her family, turn against everything that she was trying to do for good. Where do you think this is going? And basically, like I said on the preview, it appears she's going to become a villain. Now, in her defense, slightly. And then this is my last point. The last shot is Jackie putting a gun in her face, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
And, that's Jackie. But, you come to she didn't do shit. You bust in her door. Well, he didn't bust in her door. She let him in. Puts a fucking gun in her face, demanding to find her son. So at that point, she's like, fuck you. And fuck DeCourcy. You know what I mean? Like, I get that. And so I wanted to throw that in there, too. That everyone's shitting on her. And now the police are putting fucking guns in her face. So that's part of this. That is part of her story arc.
I think that they're showing parallels, but also opposites. So there's parts in season 2 and parts in earlier parts of this season where they show parallels, but they show where DeCourcy's on one track and Jackie's on the exact opposite. So I think that that's kind of what they're doing. They're showing the parallels now between Jackie and DeCourcy. They're kind of going the same direction. So they have to have, an opposing force. It's how comic books are written, shows, everything. There has to be an opposite. And I think this is doing a good job of establishing Grace now is going to be that opposing force. She's going the opposite route. She's turning her cheek on the right path, or I don't even know, because what she's doing is protecting her kid, even though her kid's a giant piece of shit. So it's one of those things where it's like, do you protect your own kid, or do you let him get what's coming to him? And she's choosing the path of, well, it's my kid, I'm protecting him.
Well, yeah, and it's the fact that she may have been well on her way to doing the right thing, especially with the speech she was giving her son. but Jackie's actions may be the thing that pushes her the opposite direction, because now she's afraid. She feels cornered, and she may well be afraid of what may happen to her kid as well.
Her allies are turning on her too.
Yeah. So she may feel like, oh, this is the best path. I have to back him. I have to cover for him. Like, they put a gun in my face. God knows what they'll do to him.
Well, I think too, because she knows that her son is not on the up and up. She knows that he's dealing drugs. She knows that he's doing all this bad stuff. But it was something Shaban said about, basically because he was Black, he's getting treated poorly by the cops. And now she can draw that parallel real quick because a cop walks in her house and just sticks a gun in her face. So now it makes it look almost like Anton is just a product of his environment as opposed to making poor decisions. So I think that they did a good job setting that up just by that one little brief ending scene, showing that what her fears about the police and those kind of things weren't made up. They weren't fabricated. That's a legit reality in their world.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And it's the sort of thing where, she may have believed like, well, if she turns herself in, if we're honest, if we do the right thing, then everything will turn out right. He may get a lenient sentence, or she may have been well on her way to do the right thing until Jackie, did what he did. Like you said, confirmed her worst fears. And, perhaps even made him think it's like, well, when he's in that system, he's going to be vulnerable. He's like, they're doing this to me. What are they going to do to him once they lock him up? They're like, because Jackie's showing it's like, well, they're clearly not playing by the book at all. So like you said, he may have been revealed to her to be a drug dealer and a criminal and whatnot, but it's still her child, and she's afraid that, okay, well, they got this agent putting a gun in my face. When they have him locked up, when they have him in a vulnerable position, are they just going to execute my son? Any parent would be worried about that.
There's grass being cut outside my window, so if anybody hears that, I apologize. Well, also, the whole Anton thing, I keep wondering, correct me if I'm wrong, was there ever a line? Now, he's in there on the drug charge and the gun charge, but is there ever been a conversation where someone told her, hey, we think he's the one that killed or had that young girl killed, or that she was in the crossfire and ended up killed? Because to me, I would like to see Grace's reaction to that. Like, hey, your son is responsible for Raina's death. Mm-hmm. Has there been a line of? I don't think. I know DeCourcy keeps going to Anton and being like, "Hey, I know you did this shit," but I don't think they've said it to Grace.
I don't recall seeing it. Not only not said to Grace, he didn't bring it up in court, and he also didn't bring it up. He said it when it was him, Shaban, and Anton there, but never Grace. It was, everybody else has been around when he's been accused of it, but Grace hasn't been.
And I bring that up because if in her mind, yeah, okay, he's doing drugs and all this, that's shitty, but connecting murdering children, that's another, you know what I mean? That's another step and another level. And I'd be curious to see how her character reacted to that.
Yeah.
Because protecting your kid who's made some poor decisions, that's different than protecting your kid who murdered a child.
Yeah, exactly. And they, like I said, they've never explained that to her. And I know it's the sort of thing DeCourcy doesn't want to bring up in any official setting because,
no evidence.
No evidence. Yeah. It's like, and does her opinion change? Does, her story change, in fact, once she realizes, the dangers that her son's inflicting on the community.
Yeah. Going to the other son, Kelvin, and I don't know the guy he works with, one of his other crew members. They're calling them the Braxton Boys. That's the name of their crew. But fucking Kathy comes up looking for Anton. She's like, hey, I'm into this drug game now. And I'm into this, and hey, let's work this out. And it ends with somebody going to her apartment and basically making the exchange for money, money for drugs. So I guess she's just in the game now of dealing drugs. Now, my immediate thought was, is she doing this to help DeCourcy? Is there another, you know what I mean? Like, because we already set up the idea of her being an informant, but she seemed not into that idea. So I don't know. I'm not completely sure where Kathy's story is going. If she just legitimately wants to get in the drug game, or is she playing another angle? I don't know.
I think initially, I don't think it had anything to do with the drug game, but I think it had more to do with her trying to, make a life for her kids. But I think now the state's witness thing, she's afraid that she may go to jail. Like DeCourcy, I don't know what evidence he has, but he's got a pretty good idea that it was her that killed Jimmy. So I don't think it would be too hard to connect those dots at this point. So I think she's willing to play ball, but I think that she's trying to help. And the only confirmation I got from that was when the gentleman with the high top fade came, the Kid and Play haircut.
Yeah.
When he came in, which is funny because this is supposed to take place in the 90s, and so was that movie. But
exactly. House Party, dude.
I know. They came out with a new one semi-recently. I saw like
for real?
Yeah, it was like
I can't believe that. Yeah, that's crazy.
I didn't either. It looks bad.
Shitty.
Yeah.
But
Imagine.
but because he was like, "Hey, are your kids at home?" And she was like, "What? What makes you think I got kids?" And he just like kind of shrugged and, "Wait, how do you know where I live?" All of those things are pointing to me that's. I think that she was ready to turn state's witness. She was ready to flop on those guys because it was going to protect her and her kids. But now I think that she's going to be scared and nervous because they know too much. So she might feel like she's going to get caught now as opposed to before where she didn't really have that fear.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm not completely sure as far as where the Kathy story is going. There wasn't a lot in this episode, just the confirmation that she's like, yeah, I'm looking, to make some things. You got any thoughts, Larry, on Kathy?
Kathy? Yeah, it's oddly enough, but then again, I did watch it pretty late at night and didn't make the connection that, oh yeah, she could be working for DeCourcy. That does make some sense. That's a possibility. Because well, she may be and she may not be, because it's hard to say, because like you said, her kids still need to eat. But this season may well be, as we've mentioned before, her being the new Jimmy. Less crappy than Jimmy, because Jimmy's motivations were horrible. Jimmy was completely selfish, but she may be the new Jimmy this season.
We got a lot with the Rohrer family this week, a whole lot, in fact. And typically, I'm more like, I don't really need all these scenes, but I thought it was quite well done. We got the bonding of Jenny and Benny with the tattoo, and having lunch or whatever with Maeve from church, and then we got the brilliantly done scene in which Jackie comes into the kitchen and basically talks, let's make amends. And he lays out a great monologue. Good job, Kevin Bacon. Where he tells the story of his house burning down as a child. And he explains about the abuse he suffered and the decision to do it. And I love it's a almost very disturbing line where they're like, you always said that your mother burned down the house. And he's like, well, didn't she? Implying that the act of violence against him is what led to the house burning down. Therefore, didn't she sort of do it? It's a really brilliant scene. It bonded the family. They're all hugging and crying. And it was after that he went, trying to help DeCourcy. It seems like Jackie is going through a transformation. He's coming to terms with his past, who he is. He still has no issues killing and doing bad shit, but now he has somewhat of a he cares now, I think, about people where he never really did before. So what do you guys think about that particular scene, the whole relationship dynamic of the Rohrer family, and where it could be going?
Yeah, that's that was really interesting this episode, and it's we got a peek into why Jackie's so messed up, and it's it's interesting to see the shift in the Roar family and who they are as Jackie and the Roars start to deal with their own issues, and that's one of the main driving factors for just sort of that change in personality that we're seeing in Jack, or at least that attempt to be a better person that we're seeing from Jackie. There's so many things that could spin out of this. There's his daughter no longer relates to her friends, and there's no telling where that's going to go, whether she's going to try to readapt and fit in with that group. Things are actually working seemingly between him and his wife for once. And I feel like, oddly enough, them fixing things with each other, it's going to cause even more drama in the long term, because there's still the things we mentioned last episode. There's the fact that their new family friend seems to have possible IRA connections. There's a few things in their personal lives that I feel like it's just going to cause things to spin out of control, even though they are more like a family now than they ever have been in the past.
Any thought, Spencer?
Nope.
Oh. Let's see here.
I was going pee.
Oh. Did you hear us?
I heard the end of it, and I didn't have any thoughts about the end of it.
Okay. Just any thoughts on the Roar family?
Oh, yeah, tons. Well, my big thing was Jackie's story about his mom. That, he had made a lot of allusions. He had alluded to a lot about how his mom was a giant piece of shit. And clearly he has told that story, but never fully said it the whole way. And I think that him being finally coming honest with that full story, I think came a long way between his relationship with him and his daughter, and also with him and his wife, because at the end, they were finally seemed to be getting over that a little bit. So it's, like I said, their story, these last 2 seasons has been the evolution of Jackie and how he's becoming a better person, and how DeCourcy is just a really good DA. He is really good at his job, but it's screwed him over because he's almost too good at his job and not willing to, bend the rules a little bit. So I really enjoyed the story this week with Jackie, because it's just that next step in the evolution of his character.
Sort of. Oh, go ahead, Larry.
Well, I just want to mention, with the fact that, it's that Jackie may be using the I'm trying to remember the name of the family. Jimmy's family. The
Ryan.
Yeah, the Ryans. Yeah, the mother of the Ryan family. The fact that we're not seeing it directly yet, but there are clear hints that he's possibly using her as a method to get to this gang and to sort of infiltrate their organization to some degree, and that he may be playing a little bit dirty, especially after what happened to Siobhan. Now, are we getting a scenario where we're getting Dorsey turning into Jackie, and Jackie's kind of becoming the man that Dorsey is?
That's what we've said.
It would be interesting. Yeah. That's a good that'd be interesting. You go into a season 3 and it's the legit role reversal, and Jackie's like, of course you're
going too far.
You're going too far. You're out of control.
And it's the sort of thing where Jackie did agree to leave and everything, and he was all for it, and he meant it.
Or they have to bring him back.
But he's like, I got to stop DeCourcy. He's too corrupt. He's gone too far.
Well, crazy. Remember Brian in The Wire, where he had McNulty. No, McNulty gets it. He's so good at his job, but he's pissed everybody off. So he ends up getting a desk job, but they need him to come back because he's so good at his job.
But when he gets the desk job, he uses it to screw them over.
Yes.
Because he's such a piece of shit.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I see a lot of parallels between Jackie and McNulty, although Jackie's a lot more of a redeemable character than McNulty was.
Yeah, but Jackie, oh, Jackie's, no, Jackie's a bad guy, man.
Jackie messed up in a
He
lot
was
of
a good guy.
like you get why Jackie is messed up in some of the ways he is.
You definitely,
But
and they're taking the time to show us that, and you know, like you guys were saying earlier, I legit the way that scene played, like I said, Kevin Bacon was phenomenal. Um, the way he played the scene, he legit seemed to care, and he's like legitimately like trying to talk to DeCourcy and like, no, I'm being sincere. I want to help, and that's how it felt. And I love the scene at the bar where he's called him in, and he seems excited. It seems like he has purpose, and he's excited to be doing this.
Yes.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
he
and it's-
finally, like you said, he finally has a purpose again, as opposed to him just living off of his previous, exploits. He's now got something new, not necessarily to bring him notoriety, but to make him have to do his job again and do it well.
We find out a little subplot that's been running about Jenny's father. We find out supposedly he's alive and he's somewhere, and she wants to find him. We have another scene with her mom. I don't like the character, the mom. I mean, she does a good job for what it is. She's a shitty human being. But I was like, we're done with that story. Quit going back to it. But I guess there needs to be some resolution to the father, because that ties into Benny's trauma as well, and Jenny's trauma from her childhood. So I get it that we're still going into that, but I mean, any thoughts on Jenny now trying to find her father? Is she going to kill him? Like, are we going and Jackie has to cover it up, or?
That'd be cool. But I think that after hearing this story about him Jackie talking about his own mom, I think that now she feels like there's unfinished, like there's no resolution to her story with her dad. So it feels like she's trying to get some resolution. But to me, there's too much story with Maeve. You have this whole IRA thing coming about, and I don't know that she's not going to get with Maeve and kill her dad. And I don't know.
Think of that, tying that into it.
I don't think that it's going to be intentional that that's how it happens, but I think that's what's going to end up happening. Is it's going to be Maeve, not Jackie, that's helping her cover it up. I think it's going to be Maeve.
oh yeah, absolutely, and it could be the whole scenario where they figure out about her whole IRA thing, and she's up to something, and maybe her or someone she's associated with, they are the source of the drugs. That because we mentioned that too. We don't know who Anton's dealer is, and it could connect to that plot line too. Like, but either way, she's clearly up to something, and they may come to a head at some point, and she's like, well, yeah, it's like, you could narc on me, but I also could tell people about what happened to your father, but I feel it's only going to come that direction, because she's trying to, like, and I think she's genuinely trying to reconcile with a bad person. Like, I don't think she wants revenge. I think she legit wants to reconcile and tell him how she felt about past events, primarily because it's been working out so well with the rest of her family. Now that's been a reliable solution for her, it's like, but that's a bad idea, especially because of the ways that they hinted that he's hurt her in the past, and this sort of thing. He could wind up doing the same thing to Benny, for all we know. So
then he will die.
yeah, exactly, right. And it's so and that's another one of those things I meant where I see like their personal connections and their personal growth, the Rohr family, where there's a lot of likelihood there's going to be a lot of plot that's going to come out of that, because the more they sort of heal and stitch things together, there's other loose ends that are coming into the scenario for this family.
I was thinking about the two leads in the show, DeCourcy and Jackie, the two characters, and I was in this episode especially. I was like, could either of these guys carry a show on their own as those specific characters? And I was like, I think they could. I like Jackie that much. I'm invested in his story that much to where if it was just his show, I would watch it. And the same with DeCourcy. I was like, if it was just a DeCourcy show, I think I would watch that too. And you know, I was I don't know why in this particular episode. I guess they both had really great scenes.
They
They have
did.
interesting storylines, but I was like, you know, that just shows the strength of the show that sort of you have these two leads. They both have separate stories, but obviously their stories intertwine. But they're both good enough to where I think that you know both characters. I'm not just talking about the actors. Obviously the actors are good, but I'm talking specifically these characters could carry their own series. But that was sort of my last little praise of this show. Do y'all have anything else y'all want to talk about regarding City on a Hill, episode 5, season 2?
No, I
That-
don't.
I think we covered everything.
Well, awesome. Yeah, we enjoyed doing these. Check out everything else on the channel. Hit the upvote, leave a comment, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.